After making a BioShock video called The Lore of BioShock is Still Incredible, I made the decision that I wanted to make one for BioShock 2's Minerva's Den DLC and BioShock Infinite. Today I'm going over the Minerva's Den DLC because I actually really enjoyed it and I feel like there are some things to talk about with it. To start, I want to talk a little bit about the base game of BioShock 2 first. A lot of people are pretty neutral on it or, even dislike it, but honestly, I really enjoyed it. But let's be real, after finishing the first BioShock, most of us wanted to play as a Big Daddy. I mean, who wouldn't want to stomp around like a tank and finally see Rapture through their eyes? In that sense, BioShock 2 felt like a much needed game for the franchise, and I think they did a great job of giving us that Big Daddy experience without it ever really feeling boring. Now, the story tends to get overlooked, and I think that's partly because it was almost impossible to follow up on the first game's storyline. BioShock 1 had those massive twists that stuck with people. BioShock 2 doesn't really have that kind of shock factor. Instead, it's a separate story that's set 8 years later, and your main goal is just simple, and it's to reunite with the little sister you're bonded to before your body gives out. And if you don't, you die. So instead of the your whole life is a lie and you're being controlled kind of plot, this one is just more about what do we pass on to those after us. It's almost like parenting. Every choice you make shapes Eleanor because she's watching and learning from you. On top of that, BioShock improved a ton of mechanics the first game struggled with. You can use weapons and plasmids at the same time, hacking is just way easier and more efficient, and Telekinesis 3? Absolutely a freaking blast. I just wish it unlocked earlier instead of near the end of the game. Now let's get into the Minerva's Den DLC, which in my opinion is where BioShock 2 does very well with the storytelling. At first, it just feels like another mission in Rapture where you fight through splicers, stop the bad guy, and save the day. But as the story unfolds, the DLC pulls out another amazing twist in the BioShock series, turning what looks like a basic side story into something a lot more human and emotional than what you would normally experience in BioShock, so let's break it down. Unlike the main game, Minerva's Den is a tighter, more personal story set in Rapture's central computing district, which is basically the city's giant tech hub. The year is 1968, which is the same time as BioShock 2's main story, and the first thing you see is a hallway with a big Minerva's Den sign before a voice comes over the PA system.
Subject Sigma is approaching Minerva's Den. He must not reach the Thinker. Detonate the tunnel!
Seconds later, the hall blows up, and it's stalling you from entering, and it's also hinting that someone really doesn't want you poking around in there. From that quick intro, all you really know is you're a Big Daddy thanks to the heavy footsteps and those trademark growls that you hear in it, and someone's trying to stop you from reaching something called the Thinker. When you wake up in the ocean, you're contacted by a man named Charles Porter, who lays out your objective: get into Minerva's Den and deal with what's going on.
Hello, Mr. Sigma? Can you hear me? The name's Porter. Charles Milton Porter. Doc Tenenbaum tells me you're here to help us get the Thinker out of Rapture. It's not going to be easy, but nothing worth doing ever is.
As you enter, the atmosphere is immediately different from the rest of Rapture. There's these weird, futuristic kind of lights, especially, compared to the year 1968, and the floors are covered in equations that are scrawled everywhere, alongside ominous warnings like "keep out" and "mine." You still don't know exactly what the Thinker is until a man named Reedwall himself chimes in.
What steps into Minerva's Den? Porter's newest toy? He wants the Thinker for himself. But you see, old friend, the machine has chosen me.
Okay, so now we know it's some kind of machine. Climbing the main staircase, you spot portraits of Reed and Charles. Reed's looks untouched, but Charles's has traitor slashed across it in giant letters. And then, boom, there's a new type of Big Daddy that shows up, but he's dead. But he is complete with a brand new laser weapon. Pretty cool, right? After you grab it and restore power to the building, Reed drops another cryptic line.
Look at you, Sigma. You think that Porter is your ally, but the Thinker knows better. The Thinker knows.
With him saying things like the Thinker knows, you can't help but assume that this machine isn't just tech, it's something much bigger, almost cult-like, with that creepy, all-knowing vibe. Throughout the exploration of Minerva's den, Charles pages you and tells you that Reed is crazy because he splices and he gives you a specific objective that you need to make a copy of the Thinker and return to the surface. Shortly after, you come across this absolutely creepy room that the developers nailed for atmosphere, and in the middle of the room on a corpse, you find an audio diary labeled as the Predictive Equation, which Reed pretty much tells you what the Thinker is.
Limited before ball games and stock prices, dollars and cents. No, the numbers spiral out. They touch everything. Hidden within them lies a predictive algorithm for you, for me, for the destiny of the base allele to the stretch of a galaxy's arm. The Thinker is destined to give birth to that crystalline equation, which determines all. I thought I knew its true purpose before. I thought Porter was the fool. Now I see. I was the fool all along.
Okay, so now we know that it's a machine that makes predictions off of equations. It sounds kinda like something that's pretty popular in the real world, and that is AI. So the Thinker is an AI, and that's what you're after. Remember, the year is 1968, so AI in those times that could predict things from equations was a very futuristic and crazy thing. As you continue deeper, more audio diaries help piece together what the Thinker was designed for, and eventually you reach Charles's office. Here you spot a couple of photos and a telegram that tells you more about his past. The photo on the left is signed with Love Pearl, which hints at a strong love interest in his life. And just a note, shortly after that, Pearl is confirmed to be Charles's wife. The picture on the right shows Charles and Pearl in the UK, suggesting that he likely lived there at some point. Then there's the telegram, and this one's interesting. It reads, Mr. Porter, I understand you enjoy gift for maths. Stop, please. Consider joining my team in Buckinghamshire Stop Rising Nazi Movement. Must be kept in check. Stop travel arrangements sent ahead. Stop time of the essence. Alan Turing. Yeah, I know it sounds like I'm having a stroke reading it, but that's just how telegrams worked back then. And if you didn't know, Alan Turing was one of the most important figures of World War II, and he was the man who led the code-breaking effort against the German Enigma machine. So the fact that he was personally asking Charles for help says a lot about how brilliant Charles was, not just in Rapture, but on the surface as well. Between the photos, the telegram, and the audio diaries, you start to realize this guy wasn't just a side character. He's a genius who had a life, love, and reputation long before Rapture pulled him under. From here, Reed keeps taunting you over the PA with lines like, "The Thinker knows," repeating it like he thinks he's him. While Charles built the Thinker as a tool, as something that could help people and more personally preserve the memory of his wife Pearl, Reed sees it as a weapon. To him, the Thinker is proof that free will doesn't exist and that everything can be calculated and predicted. He pretty much wants to use it to control the future, turning Rapture into a place where nothing is left to chance. And yes, you heard me right. Charles really was using the Thinker to preserve the memory of his wife.
The Thinker's independent reasoning processor has been running for several months now. Standardized intelligence test scores continue to rise, beginning daily voice synthesis test. Good morning, Thinker. How are you?
Acceptable. Request to continue most recent conversation topic. Pearl Porter.
Oh, my late wife. Yes, I'd love to tell you all about her. I have a number of old audio recordings we made together that you could listen to, if you'd like.
Acceptable. Begin input of data regarding Pearl Porter.
You took the words right out of my mouth, friend.
His wife Pearl had died on the surface before he ever came to Rapture, and he wanted a way to hold on to her. So he programmed the Thinker with recordings of her voice, her personality traits, and fragments of their life together. So in a way, the Thinker wasn't just Rapture's supercomputer, it was the last piece of Pearl that he could still connect to. And that's where the central conflict of Minerva's Den really shines. On one side, you've got Charles, who sees the Thinker as a bridge to love and humanity. On the other hand, you have Reed, who's obsessed with numbers and convinced he can erase choice itself. It's pretty much human emotion versus cold calculation, and you're right there in the middle of it all. Now at this point, the backstory is that Reed and Charles built the Thinker together, but when Reed's obsession with determinism spiraled out of control, Charles pushed back. He saw the Thinker as a tool to help people and not to prove that free will was an illusion. And of course, Reed didn't take that rejection very well, so he turned on Charles, exiled him, and rewrote the narrative by painting him as a traitor to Rapture. From Reed's perspective, Charles was the one holding back on the Thinker's true potential, and from Charles's perspective, Reed has lost his mind.
The brain boost gene tonics are working. Extra strength, yes. I see more now. One mind, doing the work of two. 10, with the help of the Thinker, 1,000. The machine spoke, Ryan listened, and finally, I have the Thinker all to myself. Goodbye, old friend. Don't worry. You leave your creation in capable hands.
But being branded as a traitor in Rapture wasn't just slander, it meant that your life was basically over. Charles was stripped of his status, cut off from the Thinker, and eventually captured.
Rapture is at war, Porter. And you have cast your lot with the enemy. Your concerned associates provided me with a recording of your own voice, swearing loyalty to Fontaine and his gangsters. Evidence of treason. My men are already on their way. The Thinker no longer needs you. Take pride in that. Mr. Wall is qualified to ensure that it is used in the city's best interest. Eventually, a man's dream exceeds him, and his work becomes his legacy. Charles, that hour has come.
At this point, all you really know is that Reed erased him from the picture and claimed full control of the Thinker. And while it feels like just more of Rapture's tragic history, it actually turns out to be a bigger twist in the end. Eventually, you come across an audio diary titled Rapture Departure Protocol, which reveals that Charles has a plan for the Thinker for when the time comes that he gets captured.
Well, Thinker, Ryan's secret police are on their way. They cooked up some kind of evidence against me. Treason, they say. I've heard what happens to folks who get disappeared, come back as one of those metal daddies. So, I'm leaving you with something to cogitate on in my absence. Inputting Rapture Departure Protocol. Figure a way to get yourself out of this city, Thinker. You've got to live on, no matter what happens to me. You'll find a way.
It's a chilling moment with major foreshadowing, and after listening to the dialogue, you finally find the Thinker itself, like, literally immediately after. Heading into the control room, you pull the switch to shut the machine down, but Reed makes one last desperate stand.
You have forced my hand, you see? The Thinker is shut down. That leaves only two variables. You and me. The equation ends here.
You fight him, finish him off, and return to the control room. And this is where the truth comes out.
Mainframe reactivated. Confirming user's genetic identity. Genetic identity confirmed. Alpha series. Subject Sigma. Former identity. Charles Milton Porter.
Welcome back, Milton.
System ending personality duplication. Subject Charles Milton Porter.
You see now why I let the machine speak for you, Mr. Porter. We needed a voice that would be familiar, comforting, your own. With that copy of the Thinker's programming, we may return to the surface and use it to restore you to the man you once were.
After all this time, you realize that you haven't just been following Charles's voice, you've been Charles the entire time. And the first time I heard this plot twist, my mind was absolutely blown. It's wild, but somehow it all came together. From there, you head back to Charles's office to reach the bathysphere where Tenenbaum is waiting. But before you leave, there's one last audio diary that you can listen to, and it's simply called Pearl. And honestly, it's worth hearing.
I believe I'm done feeding audio recordings and personal anecdotes to the Thinker. I am set to test the personality duplication function. Target personality, Pearl Porter. Thinker, are you ready?
Yes, Milton.
Starting test. Hello, Pearl.
Hello, Milton.
How... How have you been?
Just wonderful, Milton. I've missed you, though. It's been so long.
Pearl, No, this isn't right. It isn't her. Thinker, stop the test.
But what's the matter, Milton?
Oh, God.
Don't you still love me?
Oh, God, Oh, God, I said end function, Thinker. Now! It's over.
One detail that really stands out in Charles's office is the color TV. It's the first time you've ever seen one in Rapture, and it could mean one of two things. Either Charles actually built it himself, which isn't impossible given his genius, or more likely, he was wealthy and influential enough in Rapture to get access to technology that nobody else had. Remember, colored TVs existed on the surface by the early 1950s, but down here, that would have been cutting edge. It's a small touch, but it just shows how important Charles really was. Still, there's no time to sit around watching reruns. You gotta head up to the bathysphere and meet Tenenbaum to go to the surface. After making it to the bathysphere and flipping the switch, the final cutscene plays.
I lived through the Blitz, Pearl, and the fall of Rapture. They took my memory, my voice, everything that made me a man, but nothing ever scared me so much as saying goodbye. I wanted to save you. I couldn't resist trying to bring you back the only way I knew how. But you didn't want that. I know it now, and I think I'm finally ready to let you go your way. I stand here with the sun on my face, and it's almost like I can feel you smiling. Goodbye, Pearl. I love you more than I've got words for. Milton.
As we saw, Charles was finally freed from the Big Daddy suit, returning to himself at last. And in those final moments, he comes to terms with Pearl's death, so all the grief, memories, and reasons behind building the Thinker, it wasn't about escaping the past, it was about preserving love long enough to say goodbye. And that's what makes the Minerva's Den DLC so damn good. And it was absolutely great seeing Charles have a happy ending, and he deserves it. So that was the end of the DLC, and that was my recap of it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I seriously did not expect the video to even hit 10 minutes, but of course I proved myself wrong once again. Like I said at the beginning, I'm going to make a video similar to this for BioShock Infinite as well, but I don't know if I'll separate the base game from the Burial at Sea DLC or not, but I suppose I'll figure that out when the time comes. As well, I plan to talk about other things than just BioShock, so be sure to tune into those as well. Alright then, see ya.